Hello and welcome. In this video tutorial, we'll be creating multi-state movies and applying styling with subtracks and scenes in Pymol 3. By the end of the tutorial, you'll be able to inspect multi-state objects, add multi-state animations to the timeline, apply color changes using subtrack settings, store individual states to the timeline, and create a movie using color changes, programs, and scenes. Let's get started. Let's load in the 2H-UI structure, which is a multi-state nuclear magnetic resonance or NMR structure of the hormone insulin. You may recognize this structure from the very first tutorial in this course, as it's one of the structures in the pdb101.pse session file, which means it has an associated pdb101 Molecule of the Month article, which you can check out to learn more about insulin and blood glucose control. When an object has multiple states, the global frames controls will be displayed at the bottom of the contents panel by default. So we can click play here or use the arrows to inspect the 10 different states or frames. There's also a handy scroll bar below the workspace. If we close the global frames controls, we can now see and use the arrows either side of the number of frames next to the object name. We can also click here to see a menu of additional options, and some of these, such as skip to state, can be really handy for objects that have a large number of states. One of the easiest ways to add a multi-state object to the timeline is to click next to the object name and use the Player's Movie option. If we select this and then open the timeline, we can see that this movie has been added as a new composition, and that the movement between each of the states has been added to a 2HIU object transform subtrack. This is cycling through the states pretty fast currently, so let's click Edit and increase the duration of our timeline to 10 seconds. We can now extend this new track to stretch our animated states program across the timeline. We could also right-click on it and choose Edit Program, since this is a type of program, and we can alter a number of things here, like we saw in the previous video. In this case, we can edit things like the start and end states, the number of times the whole animation loops within a given time frame, and the duration of this program. We'll be testing out the start and end states feature a little more in the following video, and this can be really useful for objects that have a larger number of states, such as molecular dynamics trajectories. Let's apply some learning from the previous video tutorial here as well, and store a new program of a different type. We'll make sure the playhead is at the beginning of the timeline, and then right-click in the camera track, and we're going to use the roll program to add in a looping rotation. Let's do 2 loops, but increase the duration to 10 seconds. Looking good. Next, we're going to add a gradual color change. Click on the plus next to the 2HIU track header and we'll add a new setting subtrack. Choose Cartoon Color. In the Timeline Inspector, we can now see the Cartoon Color subtrack options, and I'm going to go ahead and save a number of keyframes with different colors. Scrubbing through, we can see the colours smoothly fade through each of the saved keyframes. Nice. We added all of the states for this structure to the timeline using the Player's Movie option earlier, but what if we wanted to add individual states, or have specific states take up more time than others on the timeline? Well, we can do this by adding an object-specific state subtrack. Next to 2HIU, click on the plus and choose State. Now, instead of relying on the Player's Movie program to sweep through the states, we can store individual states using this new subtrack. Right-click and choose the frame number. If we wanted to have each of our 10 states at specific timestamps, or just show states between a certain range, or have some of them displayed for longer than others, we can do this with these individually stored states. I'm going to keep everything spread out across the 10 seconds, and I'm going to right-click and delete the stored states here so that the transform track program that sweeps through all of the states takes precedence again. So far we've only looked at a cartoon representation of this structure, and although we've changed the colours, let's go ahead and show the wire and hide the non-polar hydrogens. Then do find polar interactions. Now we can see all of the hydrogen bonds that define the secondary structure. If the newly found interactions don't appear to change and update when cycling through an object with multiple states, make sure that the global frames control is open before finding the polar interactions. Interactions are linked to a global object by default, so we can add them to the timeline using the global state subtrack under the camera track, rather than as a separate object of their own. If we go ahead and add a program here, make sure that the duration and start and end points coincide with the object's specific state track, so that the interactions are in sync with the structure as it moves through the different states. Looking good. This already looks like a pretty nice animation, so we could export it just like this. However, we're going to take things a step further by saving some scenes with different representations. Let's hide the lines and the interactions and add a mesh representation. And also licorice with a cartoon hidden. I'm going to also save a scene with some spheres. And a simple wireframe with the cartoon. And then we're going to turn the interactions on so they're showing again. Now if I add these 5 different scenes to the timeline, we have our rotating multi-state insulin structure cycle through various different representations, and we can see the colour changes, and we can get a real feel for the shape of our structure. If you want to take things even further, you could add some transparency to the spheres or the cartoons to fade these representations in and out as well. Add some settings subtracks, or check out the previous video tutorial on programs and transparency settings for a refresher if needed. And don't forget to save your session. We've looked at how to export movies in several of the previous movie creation video tutorials, but remember it's always good practice to render in draw mode first. And if you're planning to render in ray mode, it's a good idea to do a static ray trace test to check everything is looking good before spending the time and processing power ray tracing a full movie. I'm going to apply the X-ray lighting from the lighting settings plugin here. And I'm going to run some tests by creating some static ray traced images at various points throughout this movie, since we have a lot of different representations going on. Last time I used 1920 width and 1080 height, which is a good standard resolution, but this time I'm going to do a super high quality 4K movie, which is 3840 horizontal pixels and 2160 vertical pixels. A reminder too that when using the FFmpeg encoder, you will need to follow the install instructions if you're using a new version of Pymol for the first time, and MPEG-4 is the long name for the MP4 file format. This one took a little while to render, but here's the result of that 4K export with a ray trace rendering. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. You can now inspect multi-state objects, add multi-state objects to the timeline, apply color changes using subtract settings, store individual states to the timeline, and create a movie using color changes, programs, and scenes. Thanks for watching.